Did you hear? The Senate is primed to go on a month-long recess, aka a vacation, at the end of the week, whether or not Mitch McConnell decides to pass relief for millions of Americans facing eviction and mounting bills or not, after sitting on the House's coronavirus bill for 2.5 months before deigning to consider passing their own. It's going so poorly that Trump is reportedly considering trying to go over McConnell's head, which is not legal, probably, and trying to push through some good but mostly awful things himself, consulting former Bush lawyer John Yoo, who pressed the legal boundaries of the presidency under Bush, as negotiations are going badly.
Negotiations over a new economic relief package are at a stalemate.
They're right now at a sticking stalemate this morning over how sweeping this relief package should be. The real sticking point at this point is the $600 weekly check. Democrats want that extended, but Republicans really want to see that trimmed down to about $200. They say in some cases this money is acting as a disincentive and that people are being paid more to stay home. The White House wants to see this short-term deal that could extend these benefits for another week. So far, though, Speaker Nancy Pelosi, she's rejecting that. This clock is ticking. The Senate is scheduled to leave for a month-long recess at the end of this week.
Right, and small businesses, state and local governments in trouble as well.
God, the being paid more to stay home than to find work talking point is so infuriating and disingenuous on purpose. We're in the middle of an economic depression and a pandemic. Everything's closed down in most states. And even if people tried to find work and people tried to open up, businesses tried to, up to 40% of small businesses in major cities could close down because of this economic fallout, because Republicans chose to favor multinational corporations and the stock market over smaller businesses, which they talk about all the time. Small businesses, but don't actually do anything to help them. So where are the jobs if 40%, the range is 25 to 40% of small businesses close down? Secondly, I'm happy that Pelosi and Schumer are not caving on the temporary extension of the $600 per week unemployment, because then there's nothing after the temporary protections expire, and Republicans are trying to appease them and make them cry uncle because they know that unemployment payments have expired so that they can get away with everything else that they want to do. It's a playbook that they've tried over and over and over again. But when you have a president whose approval rating is tanking, you don't have any leverage, and the electoral map is looking really bad. But McConnell will still constantly play hardball. So here's a quick breakdown of what's going down with these negotiations of a disgusting Congress that has such a low approval rating because eviction moratoriums have expired, unemployment payments have expired, and they are still at a stalemate in terms of passing something. And it falls on Republicans 100% here. White House officials and Democratic leaders reported some progress over the weekend, but there are still substantial differences. Democrats are proposing a $3 trillion rescue plan that would include restoring $600 per week jobless aid payments that expired on Friday and extending them through January, while Republicans are pushing a $1 trillion package that would reduce those payments substantially. President Trump on Monday raised the idea of using an executive order to address the moratorium on evictions, while also hurling insults at Democratic leaders who were meeting with his top advisors in search of a compromise, but he has been notably absent from the negotiations themselves. Mr. Trump accused Democrats of being focused on getting bailout money for states controlled by Democrats and unconcerned with extending unemployment benefits. Shocking. Democrats have proposed providing more than $900 billion to strapped states and cities whose budgets have been decimated, but it is Republicans who have proposed slashing the jobless aid. Democrats have refused to do so, cementing the stalemate. And oddly, Trump there, he wanted to basically do an executive order to stop people from getting evicted, which is kind of a good thing. Again, it's all through the lens of his narcissism, right? He wants to get reelected. He knows a mass homelessness crisis and kicking people out of their homes during his presidency probably won't help that fact. And what he was also trying to force through without the Congress and the power of the purse and the authority by the Constitution to do so was the concept of the payroll tax cut, which would completely decimate Medicare and Social Security in order to just give people very temporary relief. And also, if you're not employed and not on payroll, you don't get this payroll tax cut. All it does is help the very wealthy proportionally and hurt regular folks and slash important social safety net protection. So hopefully Trump doesn't actually follow through on that, but he is consulting one of the terrible people from the Bush administration to try to make it happen. But God, if Mitch McConnell really goes into this recess without a bill, there will be hell to pay. Democrats, please don't buckle here. You've got a week to just not cave for like the first times in your lives, because you have them over a bucket. Just because McConnell isn't showing it doesn't mean that's not the reality. And hopefully we can get some relief for Americans, because Republicans have bungled this so thoroughly and they know their butts are on the line.